Hi everyone. So, as you might know, that to become a billionaire and multi-billionaire, you need to own the piece of business. And the guy in front of me is Martin Sorrell. He is the founder of the largest advertising agency in the world, WPP. And um, the way he built his business was acquiring a lot of advertising agencies. He has acquired more than 4,200 advertising agencies across the world. That's how he became, uh, you know, that's how he made WPP the largest advertising agency. And what I, the interesting fact was when I looked at his net worth, it was just about $400 million. Think about it, right? The guy who built a $12.4 billion business is just worth 400 billion dollars. Why is that? So I was thinking about it and I came to realize that you might be in a private equity business, but not all private equity businesses are equal, right? Some have a huge upside, some allow you to become billionaires, multi-billionaires like Larry Ellison, like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos, like these other billionaires, Warren Buffett. But there are some private equity business model, niche private equity businesses which are investing in acquiring these other types of other types of businesses, but they don't allow you that upside. Why is that? It's because of the nature of their equity, and in this video we're gonna discuss the nature of their equity. So I have divided this beast on 4 factors. So to understand this, you need to understand these four metrics of each businesses, and then only you can understand why these some businesses private equity some businesses equity don't have this huge upside, and how you might not become a billionaire by creating the largest player in that space. So first is service agency. So again, George Sorrell is sorry Martin Sorrell is the largest player by far, because he created the largest agency, right? And despite the fact he was not a billionaire. Why? Because service businesses are number one, because these businesses are hard to scale and they're people dependent and they have a very low monopoly factor. That's why service businesses are you can't multiply your money significantly. At best, your investment in a agency business might grow by 5 times, 6 times over the period of 7-8 years, but that's it, right? Service business, that's it. But it also has an advantage is because these businesses equity are valued at 3 or 6 times of EBITDA. You don't need to raise outside capital to buy this equity. You can reinvest the cash flow back into the business and grow your portfolio, right? And now let's talk about digital info products. These businesses are highly scalable, which means they have low operational cost. That's why you don't need outside investment to grow your business. But if you want to buy the digital info products, you might need outside capital. You need to buy those equity at 4 or 8 times the EBITDA, and these businesses have less monopolistic effect. But this but these are better than service businesses when it comes to upside, but these are also worst when it comes to downside, because the more upside you want to own, the larger downside you will also own, right? So for example, think about Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is probably worth $800 million. How? He is the largest player in the digital info space, right? That's why. Now let's talk about software. The biggest player in software, I think, is Bill Gates and Larry Ellison. So Larry Ellison ownership of Oracle. So he's able to own 40% of Oracle. Why? Because service businesses, software businesses don't have huge operational cost. That's why the cash flow of he doesn't need to raise outside capital, right? And uh, some businesses, especially social media and operating system and other these businesses, they have this network effect and they have this um, they have this ecosystem that creates a monopolistic effect. That's why they are valued 10 to 20 times this their multiple. But it also means that you need to raise outside capital in many cases. That's why a lot of software founders do own less than 15% of their companies, but um, you can say that most of private equity and software space own less than 10 to 15%. But yeah, they also have this huge upside. And if you are looking to invest in software businesses just for cash flow, I don't think it's a good idea. I think service business might be a better option. What you should be, if you're, I think if you are looking to invest in software, it should be purely for the purpose of growth, and you should look at the equity and try to get returns in terms of growth, not in terms of cash flow. So the investment cycle will probably be longer than 5 years. Now let's talk about fourth type of business, which is marketplace. It's a little bit inferior when it comes to software businesses in upside because marketplace, they don't have this recurring revenue, and yeah, that's why these marketplaces are valued less. But the advantage is these platforms, this marketplace like Amazon, they have this network effect because the more users they have, the better their service becomes. The more options they have, the better pricing, the better delivery time they have. So all these different factors create the monopolistic effect that allows them to protect their their volatility, and I think they protect their market cap, and that's how it is. Now let's talk about physical product. Physical product, yeah, I would say upside is not that huge, but downside is also not that less. I mean, at worst, you might not get any cash flow for your business, but still you have all the assets that you can resell to another of your competitor, right? So yeah, that's how it is. Now let's talk about media brands, and I think Michael Bloomberg is the largest player when it comes to uh, yeah, he's the largest player when it comes to media, and yeah, he's probably worth 90 billion, something like that, 104 billion dollars. So that also proves the point that media is as good as software, but it's more people. I mean, media are more people driven, but still they're as good as software because they have this network effect, and they are very easy to scale, and all these different factors, right? But they are less monopolistic in nature, meaning um, there might be some new competitors that break through the market every different cycles. So yeah, that's how it is. Now let's talk about the best businesses, which are digital IPs. But first, let's talk about the pharmaceuticals. So pharmaceuticals 10 to 25 times the EBITDA, and because because of the patents, you are allowed to run a monopoly for 10 legal monopoly for 10 to 25 years, right? That's how these are very good businesses. I mean, you should invest. These are businesses with high upside. So it's a great investment. Pharmaceuticals and biotech, and I think the future billionaires or future list of trillionaires, new set of trillionaires will be created from biotech, because last century had a lot of advancement in software, but we didn't see a lot of breakthroughs in biotech. Probably 22nd century will be a biotech billionaires. I don't know. So great. So it has huge upside, but there also huge downside because research cost is huge. Because you don't need a lot of cost to produce a software, right? A bunch of genius programmers, but for creating a pharmaceuticals, I think you need a huge research team. Again, but it depends on the again. So, I mean, you could have a scientist who is thousand times better than thousand of scientists, right? So, yeah, it depends on the quality of your people. And now let's talk about digital IP, and this is by far the best private equity I've known so far when it comes to upside. Why? Because you might invent something, some intellectual property that you can give access to other people. For example, you let's talk. It's a Renaissance technology. George Jim Simmons, right? Jim Simmons. So he developed a mathematical model, a computer simulation mathematical model that invests in and trades in the stock market, and that gives on average 40 to 60% returns. I think the return was around 66.7%. So this computer model generates 66.7% return, and that makes him one of the most successful hedge fund managers. He is a mathematician, and he has, I think, 400 employees, all of which are previous scientists, mathematicians, and genius mathematical brains who were dragged into the finance. So these are the businesses, right? The IP businesses, which are very secretive and inside. You don't allow your competitor to see what is inside, but you give access, and that allows them to generate the results, and you can charge a lot because these businesses, digital IP, are highly scalable. They have huge network effect unless some genius breaks out your IP, and yeah. So that's it, and I hope you liked it. So yeah, I'm thinking about starting private equity, and I don't know, as you go up and try to play bigger games like software, SaaS, or some other private equity, you need to have knowledge on this, deep knowledge on these fields, and easy. I mean, anybody can become a real estate manager, right? Because the business model is quite simple. The more complex the business model is, the more upside it has, and the more downside it has, and that's the type of business that creates the most billionaires, right? You don't have the most billionaires when it comes to real estate. So I hope you like this, and yeah, my plan is to start with easy business models, and currently I think media is the one, but I don't know. So service businesses, I'm right now in service businesses, servicing traders and contractors with scaling their business via paid advertisements and all these marketing channels. I think I might own a few service businesses and try to start a private equity there, but it doesn't have this huge upside, right? So if I don't see the upside, I'm not motivated. But anyways, if I want to become a millionaire, multi-millionaire, these are any one of these are perfectly fine, and I don't have any problem with that. Let's just first become a multi-millionaire, and then we're gonna think about how can you become a billionaire. So that's my plan, and that's a realization that I had. So I decided to record this video. I'll see you next time.